Every generation of car enthusiasts loses something specific. The generation that grew up in the 1960s lost the muscle car when the oil crisis arrived. The generation that grew up in the 1980s lost the affordable sports car when insurance rates climbed. The generation that grew up in the 1990s lost the Japanese sports car when Toyota and Honda walked away from the segment in the early 2000s. In 2026, the current generation is losing 5 cars at once. All of them are confirmed out of production by the end of this year, and it's for reasons that have nothing to do with the cars themselves. All of them are the kind of car that, 15 years from now, the people who own one will be telling their kids and grandkids about, the same way previous generations told stories about the cars that disappeared from their own showrooms. Here are the 5 legendary retro cars going out of production this year, and here is the story of why each one matters. Car number 1, the Toyota GR Supra. If there is one Japanese car that defined an entire generation of American teenagers, it is the Toyota Supra. Specifically, it is the 4th generation Supra, the A80. The one that went on sale in 1993 with the 2 JZ GT-E twin turbocharged inline-6 engine, the one that was rated at 320 horsepower from the factory, and that everybody knew, even at the time, was actually making more like 350 straight off the showroom floor. The Supra became one of the most tuned cars in the history of the automobile. The 2 JZ engine in particular became famous for being able to safely produce, with the right modifications, 600, 800, in some documented cases over 1,000 horsepower on its original factory bottom end. The cast iron block, the closed deck, 7 main bearings supported by a deep-skirted block. There has rarely been a more over-engineered production engine in the history of the modern car industry. Toyota stopped selling the Supra in the United States in 1998 and ended global production of the A80 in 2002. The Supra nameplate then disappeared from Toyota showrooms for 17 consecutive years. During those 17 years, something cultural happened that almost nobody at Toyota corporate could have predicted. The original Fast and the Furious movie came out in 2001, and the orange Supra that Brian O'Connor drove in the climactic scenes of that film became, by widespread acknowledgement, the most recognized Japanese performance car in American popular culture. Paul Walker's character drove that car. The car became, for an entire generation of American teenagers who saw the movie when they were 12 or 13 years old, the platonic ideal of what a Japanese sports car was supposed to be. Those teenagers grew up. They became 30-year-olds, then 40-year-olds, and many of them never stopped wanting a Supra. In 2019, Toyota brought the Supra back. The 5th generation Supra, the A90, also internally called the J29, was developed in partnership with BMW. It shares its fundamental platform, its engines, and its transmission with the contemporary BMW Z4. It is built by Magna Steyr at the Magna Steyr plant in Graz, Austria. The base engine is a 2.0-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. The headline engine is the 3.0-liter B58 inline-6. The same engine BMW has been using in everything from its 3 Series sports sedans to its X5 SUVs. In the Supra, it produces 382 horsepower and 368 lb-ft of torque. The car was not, when it launched, universally embraced by Supra purists. The BMW partnership was controversial. The fact that the new car shared more than half of its parts with a BMW Roadster was, for a certain kind of die-hard Toyota loyalist, almost unforgivable. The A90 did not get a manual transmission at launch. It was, for its first several years on sale, only available with the 8-speed automatic that came from BMW. Toyota fixed that, eventually. In late 2022, for the 2023 model year, Toyota added a 6-speed manual transmission to the 3.0-liter Supra. The transmission itself was a ZF unit, assembled from a combination of parts shared with BMW's manual gearboxes, including the unit used in the 4-cylinder Z4, but with a Supra-specific gear set and final drive ratio. Toyota's contribution was the calibration, a new chassis program, a new active differential setup, an IMT rev matching system, and a feature Toyota called Hairpin Plus, which deliberately allowed additional inside rear wheel slip on tight cornering for a more rotational driving feel. By the time Toyota added the manual, the A90 Supra had become, finally, exactly the car the Supra community had wanted from the start. A modern, six-cylinder, rear-wheel drive, three-pedal Japanese sports car, with the original Supra silhouette translated into a contemporary form. In late November of 2024, Toyota unveiled the A90 Final Edition for Europe and Japan, signaling that the end of the model was coming. Then, in October of 2025, Toyota issued the official statement. Production of the Supra would end in March of 2026 at Magna Steyr in Graz. There is no replacement scheduled to arrive immediately. The Supra nameplate, having been brought back from a 17-year hiatus in 2019, is now being put back into the vault. Whatever the next generation Supra eventually looks like, it will not be on sale before 2027 at the earliest, with most reporting suggesting 2028. There will be, once again, a Supra-shaped hole in the Toyota lineup. Toyota is sending the A90 off properly. The final edition for the United States market gets revised camber angles, upgraded electronic dampers, strengthened suspension bushings, a stronger underbody brace, a carbon fiber rear duckbill spoiler, front wheel arch flaps, raised front tire spats, new 19-inch matte black wheels, leather and Alcantara seats with red contrast stitching and red seat belts, and two new exclusive paint options called Burnout and Undercover. The horsepower is unchanged from the standard A90 3.0 at 382 horsepower, but the chassis tuning, the suspension geometry, the brakes, and the overall driving feel have all been tightened up for the final production run. The European market and the Japanese market are getting an even more aggressive final edition, with race-derived components from the GT4 race car, including a swan neck rear wing and a Krapovich titanium exhaust, KW adjustable suspension, Brembo brakes with 16-inch front rotors, lightweight 19-inch front and 20-inch rear wheels with Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires, and an output increase to 434 horsepower with 571 Newton-meters of torque. That European and Japanese market final edition is limited to 300 units total, with 150 going to Japan and 150 going to Europe. The US market does not officially get that version. American buyers get the US final edition only. Pricing for the US 2026 GR Supra Final Edition is approximately $70,500, including destination. The standard A90 3.0 starts at roughly $58,000, including destination. If you have ever wanted a brand new factory warranted Toyota with a turbocharged inline-six and a manual transmission, the order window for that car is closing right now. Once the final A90 rolls off the line in Austria in March of 2026, that is the end of new Supra production. The next Supra, when it eventually arrives, will reportedly not have a BMW partnership. Reporting suggests it may instead share development with Mazda, possibly with a Mazda-developed inline-six. Whether that is a good thing or a bad thing depends entirely on what kind of Supra purist you are. If you owned an A80 in the 90s, the comments are open. If you ordered an A90 Final Edition in 2026, the comments are also open. The Supra, in either generation, is one of the small handful of cars that genuinely earned the legendary status it carries. The fact that it is going out of production again, for the second time in a generation, is not a small thing. It is the end of a chapter. Car number 2, the BMW Z4. The BMW Z4 does not have the same mythological standing as the Toyota Supra. There was no Hollywood movie that turned the Z4 into a household name. There was no 1990s tuner culture that built it up into a cultural icon. The Z4 has, for most of its life, been a quiet, slightly underappreciated, slightly old-fashioned roadster that BMW kept in the lineup as a kind of conscience, as a reminder to itself and to its customers that the brand had not entirely forgotten what it was originally supposed to be about, and what BMW was originally supposed to be about before it became the company that builds enormous luxury SUVs with 7 feet of grille, was small, light, rear-wheel drive sports cars built around an inline 6-cylinder engine. The Z4 is the last car in the BMW lineup that still meets that original description. The roadster lineage at BMW goes back further than most people realize. The BMW 328 Roadster from 1936, the legendary BMW 507 from 1956, the car that nearly bankrupted the company and that today sells at auction for prices in the low millions, the Z1 concept Roadster from the late 1980s, which was so radical it had doors that slid down vertically into the bodywork. The Z3, launched in 1995, which appeared in the James Bond film GoldenEye, and became, briefly, one of the most recognized BMWs in the world. The Z8, hand-built between 2000 and 2003, with a 5-liter V8 from the M5, also a Bond car. And then the first Z4, the E85, which launched in 2002. The current Z4, the third generation, is internally called the G29. It went on sale in 2018 and has been in production for 8 model years. It is built at the Magna Steyr plant in Graz, Austria, alongside the Toyota Supra you just heard about. The two cars share a platform, share doors, share door handles, and share most of their structural components. The Z4 is the soft-top convertible. The Supra is the fixed-roof coupe. Both are built next to each other on the same line. There are 3 available engines. The base S-Drive 20, uses a 197 horsepower, 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. The S-Drive 30Y uses a more powerful version of the same 2-liter 4, producing 258 horsepower. The headline engine is the M41, with the 3-liter B58 inline 6, producing 382 horsepower in the US market. 0 to 60 in the M41 automatic is 3.9 seconds. With the manual, 4.2 seconds. And here is the thing about the M41 that most casual viewers will not know. Until 2024, the M41 was only available with an 8-speed automatic transmission. Then, late in the car's production cycle, BMW did something unexpected. They added a 6-speed manual transmission option to the M41 called the Handschalter package. The manual was paired with recalibrated suspension, recalibrated steering, a tightened-up chassis tune, and a sharper overall driving program. In a market where almost every German manufacturer had quietly removed the manual transmission from their lineup, BMW added one to a car they already knew they were going to discontinue. They did it specifically because they wanted to send the Z4 out properly. By every account from people who have actually driven a manual M41, the car is one of the most engaging, balanced, communicative BMWs on sale right now. The B58 inline 6 is one of the great modern German engines. The chassis is fundamentally sound. The 50-50 weight distribution is real. The steering communicates with the driver in a way that almost no current BMW SUV or sedan does anymore. In late November of 2025, BMW announced that production of the Z4 would end in March of 2026. There is no successor scheduled. There is no electric replacement scheduled. There is, by every available account, no Z car returning to the BMW lineup in the foreseeable future. The Z4 Final Edition is being built only between February and April of 2026 in the United States market. After that production window closes, the Z4 will join the Z1, the Z3, and the Z8 as a BMW Roadster nameplate that exists only in the brand's history books. The final edition, for the US market, comes only in the M41 configuration. Oh, it is finished in BMW Individual Frozen Black, an exclusive matte paint reserved only for this car. It has high gloss black trim throughout, a black soft top, red M Sport brake calipers, 19-inch front and 20-inch rear, M dual-spoke 800M wheels, leather and Alcantara seats with red contrast stitching, red seat belts, special final edition door sills, and a Harman Kardon surround sound system. Pricing is fixed at $78,675, regardless of whether you choose the manual or the automatic. That makes the final edition the most expensive Z4 in the model's 23-year history, and it is the only Z4 trim level for which BMW is making an explicit case that it could become a future collectible. The order window opens in late January of 2026. Production runs February through April. After April, there is no more Z4. There is something genuinely sad about this car going away with no replacement on the horizon. The convertible market is collapsing across almost every brand. Mercedes has been quietly killing off its convertible variants. Audi removed the Audi TT from the market several years ago. Porsche is keeping the Boxster around in electric form, but you are about to hear what is happening to the gas-powered version. The Z4, for the moment, is the last German two-seat soft-top roadster you can walk into a dealership and order, with a manual transmission and an inline-six engine. After March of 2026, that combination will not be available anywhere in the world, from any manufacturer, at any price. If you own a Z3 or a Z4, or any of the older Z cars, the comments are open. Car number 3, the Porsche 718 Boxster and Cayman. If you are a Porsche enthusiast watching this video, right now, this is the chapter that is going to hurt the most. So I am just going to tell you the news directly before we get into the rest of the story. Porsche stopped taking new orders for the gas-powered 718 Boxster and the 718 Cayman in mid-2025. The final examples rolled off the production lines in October of 2025. And here is a detail that most casual fans will not know. The 718s did not all come from a single factory. Since 2022, Porsche has been running overflow production at the Volkswagen plant in Osnabrück, Lower Saxony, the former Cayman facility that Porsche has used since the 1960s for various models. Owners can tell which cars were built where by looking at the 11th digit of the VIN. An S means Stuttgart-Zuffenhausen, the Porsche main plant. AK means Osnabrück. The final cars came from both lines in October of 2025. There is limited remaining new car inventory at North American Porsche dealers, and that inventory is expected to be sold out by some point in the first half of 2026. After that inventory is gone, you will not be able to buy a brand new gasoline-powered Boxster or Cayman from a Porsche dealership anywhere in the world. The replacement is supposed to be electric. The fully electric Boxster and Cayman were originally scheduled to launch in 2025, then 2026. Both launches have been delayed. Recent reporting suggests the electric versions may not arrive until 2027 at the earliest. As of this writing, Porsche has also begun to walk back its commitment to electric only for the next generation 718, with reports indicating the company is now re-engineering the chassis to also accept internal combustion engines. The next generation Boxster and Cayman, when they eventually arrive, may end up being available in both gasoline and electric configurations. But the cars going out of production right now, the gasoline-powered 718 Boxster and Cayman that you may still be able to find at a Porsche dealership in the next few months, are the last of an era. They are the final descendants of one of the most respected mid-engine sports car platforms in the modern automotive industry. The Boxster goes back to 1996. Porsche at that time was in genuine financial trouble. The brand had been losing money throughout the early 1990s. The lineup had become old. The 911 was the only meaningful product the company was selling, and even the 911 had been drifting upmarket and becoming more expensive. Porsche needed an entry-level sports car that would bring in younger buyers and broaden the brand's appeal. They built the Boxster. The original Boxster, the 986, launched in 1996 as a 1997 model in the US market. It was a mid-engine soft-top roadster with a flat-six engine, fully independent suspension at all four corners, and a price that made it the most affordable Porsche on sale. It was, fundamentally, designed to be a modern interpretation of the Porsche 550. Spider from the 1950s, the car that James Dean was driving when he died in 1955. The Boxster's name is a portmanteau of Boxer, referring to the Boxer-style flat-six engine, and Speedster, a nod to the original Porsche Speedster of the 1950s. The Boxster saved Porsche financially. It became the company's best-selling car for several years. It allowed Porsche to invest in the development of the Cayenne SUV, which then became the company's actual cash cow. Without the Boxster, by most credible accounts, Porsche would not exist today as an independent brand. The Boxster is, in a real and verifiable sense, the car that paid for everything Porsche built afterward. The Cayman came along 9 years later, in 2005. It was the fixed-roof coupe version of the Boxster platform. It was, for many enthusiasts and most automotive journalists, an even better driver's car than the Boxster underneath, because the fixed roof added structural rigidity that the soft top simply could not match. The Cayman has, throughout its production run, been one of the most universally praised driver's cars in the entire automotive press. Multiple road test writers have, over the years, called the Cayman GT-4 one of the greatest production sports cars ever made by anyone. The current generation, the 982, was internally called 718, going back to a 1957 Porsche racing nameplate. It launched in 2016. The naming change reflected a shift in engine architecture from the previous generation's naturally aspirated six-cylinders to a new family of turbocharged four-cylinder engines on most trims. The GTS 4.0 trim, the Cayman GT4, and the GT4 RS all retain naturally aspirated flat-six engines. The GT4 RS in particular, with its 4-liter naturally aspirated flat-six revving to 9,000 RPM and producing 493 horsepower, is widely considered to be one of the most extraordinary mid-engine sports cars ever sold to the public, at any price below $300,000. All of those cars are now out of production. The Porsche dealer in your nearest major American city may still have a handful of them on the lot. The dealer who sold cars to your friend who got allocated a GT4 RS 3 years ago is now sending emails to that same friend asking him to bring the car back, plus a sizable amount of cash in trade for one of the very last new examples in inventory. The pricing on remaining new 718s has hardened. Used pricing on GT4 RS examples has gone up significantly in the last 12 months. Owner forum threads are filled with people calculating whether to keep their existing car, to buy another one before they disappear, or to wait several years and see what the next generation electric or hybrid Boxster looks like. That last calculation is the one almost no Porsche enthusiast wants to make. Because here is the fundamental issue with the next generation 718, regardless of what powertrains it eventually arrives with. The current 718, the gasoline one, is a mechanical car. It has a flat engine mounted in the middle of the chassis with a manual or PDK transmission that delivers its power and its sound and its character through the same fundamental architecture that Porsche has been refining since the 1970s. The character of the car is defined by its engine. The engine is defined by its physical layout. The physical layout cannot be replicated by an electric powertrain, no matter how good the electric powertrain is. Porsche knows this. Porsche has acknowledged it publicly. The internal debate inside the company about how to keep the Boxster and Cayman feeling like Boxsters and Caymans, even after the gasoline version is gone, has been one of the most public and most agonized product strategy conversations in the modern automotive industry. The recent decision to bring internal combustion back into the next generation chassis is itself an admission that the all-electric path was not delivering what the brand needed it to deliver. If you have ever owned a Boxster or a Cayman, the comments are open. If you are sitting on a GT4 RS allocation right now and trying to decide whether to take delivery, the comments are also open. The cars going out of production at the end of 2025, with US inventory clearing out through 2026, are the end of a 30-year chapter for Porsche. Whatever comes next, when it eventually comes, will be a different car. Car number 4. The Nissan GTR. The Nissan GTR is, by any honest reading of the last 60 years of Japanese automotive history, the most legendary nameplate in the entire Japanese performance car canon. The original Skyline GTR, the PGC-10, went on sale in 1969. It was a 4-door sedan, built by Nissan after its merger with Prince Motor Company, powered by a 2-liter inline 6-cylinder engine called the S20, with double overhead cams, a 160 horsepower output rating, and a chassis tuning program that came directly from Nissan's race team. The original Skyline GTR won 49 consecutive Japanese touring car races, 50 victories total, between 1969 and 1972, before a Mazda Savannah RX-3 finally broke the streak. The car earned a Japanese cultural nickname during that period, Hakosuka, meaning roughly box skyline. Original Hakosuka skylines now sell at auction for hundreds of thousands of dollars. The GTR nameplate then went on a long hiatus. Nissan did not build a new GTR between 1973 and 1989. The car returned in 1989 as the R32 Skyline GTR with a twin-turbocharged RB26 DETT inline-6, all-wheel drive, 4-wheel steering, and a level of computerized chassis control that was a decade ahead of anything else on sale. It was the Australian motoring magazine Wheels, on the cover of its July 1989 issue, that first called the new R32 Godzilla, in a story written by their Japanese correspondent, Peter Nunn, and approved by then-editor Phil Scott. The nickname stuck. Every Skyline GTR built after that point has been called Godzilla by every motoring journalist on the planet, and the R32 went on to dominate Group A racing in Australia, in Japan, in Europe, and at the Macau Grand Prix in the years that followed. The R33 Skyline GTR came in 1995. The R34 came in 1999. The R34 in particular, with its prominent role in the Too Fast, Too Furious film, and especially in the later Fast and Furious films, became, alongside the Toyota Supra you heard about earlier, one of the 2 most recognized Japanese performance cars in American popular culture. R34 prices on the US market, where the car was never officially imported, and where the earliest examples became legally importable, starting in 2024 under the 25-year import rule, are now routinely above $300,000 for clean examples. And then, in 2007, Nissan did something extraordinary. They dropped the Skyline name from the GTR, simplified the badge to just GTR, and launched a brand new platform called the R35. The R35 was no longer based on the Skyline sedan platform. It was a clean-sheet, purpose-built sports car. It was the first GTR officially sold in the United States. It went on sale in the US market for the 2009 model year. The R35 used a 3.8-liter twin-turbocharged V6 engine, internally called VR38DETT. The engine was hand-assembled individually by a team of 9 Nissan master technicians called Takumi, working at the Yokohama plant in Japan. Each engine took approximately 6 hours to assemble by hand. The names of the master technicians who built the engine were stamped on a plaque that was attached to the engine itself before the engine was shipped from Yokohama down to the Tochigi assembly plant for final installation in the car. Power output at launch in 2007 was 480 horsepower. By 2017, the standard car was making 570 horsepower. The Nismo variant, in its highest output configuration, made 600 horsepower. For the first 3 or 4 years of its production run, the R35 was, on a dollar per second to 60 basis, one of the cheapest fast cars in the history of the global automotive industry, and it kept that title for almost 2 decades. The R35 Nissan GTR remained in production, with running mechanical updates, with new additions, with a significant exterior refresh in 2017, with continual chassis improvements for 18 consecutive model years. That kind of production lifespan for a halo sports car is essentially without precedent in the modern industry. Nissan officially announced the end of R35 production in late 2024. The final model year for the US market was 2025. The final R35 built anywhere in the world rolled off the Tochigi assembly line on August 26th of 2025. It was finished in midnight purple, the famous 1990s Nissan high-performance paint color. It was a premium edition T-Spec model. It was delivered to a customer in Japan who insisted on the very last one. Nissan CEO Ivan Espinosa, in remarks made at the production line on the final build day, called the moment, in his exact words, not a goodbye to the GTR forever, but said it is Nissan's goal for the GTR nameplate to one day make a return. Total R35 production. Over the 18-year run came to approximately 48,000 vehicles worldwide. About 37% of those went to the Japanese domestic market. A significant percentage went to the United States. Smaller numbers went to Europe and Australia before regulations in those markets made the car non-compliant several years before the end of production. The car was, by then, very expensive. The 2025 US market GTR Premium started at $121,090. The Nismo trim started at $221,090. The price point at the end of the run was a long way from where the car had started, when it launched as the supposed working man's supercar. Nissan inventory in the US market is essentially gone. There are remaining GTRs at North American Nissan dealerships in 2026 in single-digit numbers, mostly Nismo trims, mostly priced at full MSRP or higher. After those last few cars sell, the R35 is gone forever, and the GTR nameplate is once again on hiatus. Espinosa has stated publicly that this is not a goodbye to the GTR forever. Nissan's stated goal is to bring the nameplate back at some point in the future. There has been a concept car called the Hyperforce, shown in 2023, that is widely understood to be a preview of the next generation GTR. The Hyperforce is electric. It is unclear, at this point, whether the eventual production GTR successor will use that platform or a hybrid platform, or whether Nissan will eventually return to a gasoline-powered configuration as the engineering and the regulatory environment evolves. What is clear is that the R35 Nissan GTR, the car that an entire generation of American teenagers grew up wanting, that was never officially sold in the US until well into its parent platform's life cycle, that became, against all odds, a regular fixture on American roads and at American track days, is now in the rearview mirror. 48,000 units, hand-built engines, the names of the master technicians on the plaques, 18 years of continuous production, and one final Midnight Purple Premium Edition T-Spec in Japan on August 26 of 2025. If you own an R35, the comments are open. If you owned an R32 or an R33 or an R34 before the US import laws made it possible to bring them in, the comments are also open. Few nameplates in the modern automotive industry have earned their legendary status as completely as Godzilla. Car number 5, the Lexus LC500. The Lexus LC500 is the closing car in this video for a specific reason. It is, by widespread critical and enthusiast consensus, the most beautiful production car Lexus has ever built. And it is also, by every available measure, the last naturally aspirated V8-powered Grand Touring coupe that any luxury manufacturer is going to build for a very, very long time. The LC started life in 2012 as a concept car called the LFLC, shown at the North American International Auto Show in Detroit. The concept was the work of a Lexus design team and its chief engineer. It was, at the time, widely regarded as one of the most striking concept cars of the entire decade. Concept cars almost never make it to production unchanged. The LFLC was a spectacular exception to that rule. When the production LC500 arrived for the 2018 model year, the production car retained almost every meaningful element of the original concept. The proportions, the long hood, the rearward set cabin, the dramatic creases along the body sides, the deeply sculpted rear haunches, the spindle grille translated into something almost three-dimensional. Lexus, almost unprecedentedly, simply built the concept. The engine is a 5-liter V8, internally designated 2URGSE. It is the same engine that powered the original Lexus ISF Sports sedan, the one that came out in 2008. It is the same engine that has gone into every V8 Lexus since, including the RCF Coupe, the GSF sedan, and the current IS500F Sport Performance sedan. By every available measure, the 2URGSE is one of the great modern naturally aspirated V8s. Aluminum block, aluminum cylinder heads, 4 valves per cylinder, dual variable valve timing, 471 horsepower, 398 lb-ft of torque, and a red line of 7,100 RPM. The exhaust note of the LC500 is one of the most distinctive sounds in the modern automotive industry. It is not the deep rolling burble of an American muscle V8. It is something different, something higher pitched, more mechanical, more operatic. Lexus partnered with the musical instrument division of Yamaha, the same Yamaha that builds pianos and motorcycles, on the development of the LC500's intake and exhaust systems. The intake plenum is specifically tuned to vibrate at frequencies that harmonize with the engine's mechanical tones, at high RPM. The exhaust is similarly designed as a resonating chamber. The result is an engine that, at full throttle, sounds like nothing else on the road. It is also one of the few modern luxury cars where the exhaust note is genuinely louder and more present inside the cabin than the buyer of, say, a Mercedes-AMG Coupe might be expecting. The LC500 wants you to hear the engine working. Paired with that engine is a 10-speed automatic transmission, also unusual for the segment. Most modern luxury GT cars use 8-speed transmissions. The 10-speed in the LC is engineered to keep the engine in its narrow happy zone of high RPM operation more often, with shifts that feel notably faster and more decisive than a conventional 8-speed in a comparable vehicle. The interior is one of the most genuinely admired interiors of any production car of the last 10 years. Hand-stitched leather, real Japanese hardwood marquetry trim, an elegant analog clock on the dashboard, a central touchscreen sourced from the contemporary Mark Levinson home audio division, and seats that have been independently rated by multiple long-distance drivers as some of the most comfortable production seats made by any manufacturer. The LC500 was always positioned as a grand tourer rather than as an outright sports car. It is meant to be driven for hundreds of miles at a time, on long roads, in comfort, with the V8's exhaust note providing the soundtrack. Performance is real but not extreme by current standards. 0 to 60 in the coupe is approximately 4.4 seconds. The convertible is approximately 4.6 seconds. Top speed is electronically limited to 168 miles per hour. The LC is not the fastest car in this video. The LC was never trying to be the fastest car. The LC was trying to be the most beautiful, the most distinctive, and the most rewarding to drive over long distances. It succeeded at all three, and almost nobody bought one. Total Lexus LC500 sales worldwide, from launch in 2017 through December of 2025, were approximately 15,000 units. That is 15,000 cars, total, across 9 years of production, across every market the LC was sold in. By comparison, Toyota sells approximately 300,000 Camrys per year in the United States alone. The LC500 was, in the most literal sense, a very low-volume car. Its best year was 2021, when Lexus moved 2,782 units globally. In 2025, U.S. sales were 1,464 units, including just 18 of the hybrid LC500H, which Lexus had already discontinued earlier in the year. In late January of 2026, a letter that Lexus had sent to its dealers became public. The letter confirmed that production of the LC500, both the coupe and the convertible, would end at the Motomachi assembly plant in Toyota City, Japan, in August of 2026. Lexus subsequently confirmed the news directly to multiple automotive press outlets. There is no successor planned. The closest thing Lexus has shown is a fully electric LFA concept, unveiled at the end of 2025, alongside the related Toyota GR GT Super sports car. The new LFA, when it eventually arrives in production, will start at a price point well above $100,000 more than the LC ever cost. The base price of a 2026 Lexus LC500 is $101,700. The convertible is approximately $10,000 more. After August of 2026, you cannot buy a brand new naturally aspirated V8 luxury Grand Touring coupe from a Japanese manufacturer at any price. This is, without overstating the case, the end of an era. The naturally aspirated luxury V8 has been a defining feature of the European and Japanese luxury car market since at least the 1960s. Mercedes-AMG has switched almost entirely to turbocharged V8s and turbocharged inline fours with electric assistance. BMW M is doing the same. Audi RS is going hybrid and electric. Aston Martin's V8 is now a turbocharged Mercedes engine. Bentley has discontinued the W12. The big naturally aspirated luxury engine, the one that defines the character of an old-school Grand Touring coupe, is becoming extinct, model by model, generation by generation, across the entire global luxury industry. The LC500 is the last of them. In the under $150,000 price range, anywhere in the world. When the last one rolls off the line at Motomachi in August of 2026, that engine layout in that price segment is gone. 5 cars, 5 legendary nameplates, all of them confirmed dead by the end of 2026. The Toyota Supra, the BMW Z4, the Nissan GTR, the Porsche 718 Boxster and Cayman, the Lexus LC500. Some of these cars will come back eventually, in different forms, with different powertrains, built by different engineers for a different world. Some of them will not. The Z4 lineage may end entirely. The LC's naturally aspirated V8 is finished forever. The Boxster is going electric, or possibly hybrid, but no longer the gasoline car you grew up wanting. The GTR will return as something hybrid or fully battery-powered, possibly with no Takumi plaque on the engine because there will be no engine to put a plaque on. The Supra will come back, eventually, but it will not be the A90, and the 17-year hiatus that ended in 2019 has just been replaced with another hiatus of unknown length. If you have wanted any of these cars, the next 12 months are the last opportunity to buy one new from a dealer. After that, the used market is the only option, and the used market always figures out, eventually, what just got taken away. Now, click on this next video to see the car that quietly outlived almost every car in this list. The American luxury sedan that Ford built for 30 years, that police departments and taxi fleets and your grandfather all drove for a reason, and that today is one of the cheapest ways to buy a body-on-frame V8 Survivor that will run forever.